Perfect. Wonderful. I believe we are now recording.
Perfect. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. That's what I'm
very
also seeing.
much over to you.
Perfect. Wait a sec. So let me just share my screen. Okay. Yeah. Can you see my screen? Yes. Perfect. Okay. So today we'll be looking at video editing and, with beats and addition of visual storytelling. First of all, what is this workshop about? Basically, what we'll be looking at today is how you can make your videos look good with no previous experience or no, like video editing skills and without any particular video knowledge. In other words, it's entry level. So if you're just interested in starting out, you're in the right place. And because the topic of the video editing is just so huge, there is a lot of stuff that that falls into this category. The sort of like main idea of the workshop is to make you familiar with the process and tools, and make it so that if you want to make a change, introduce something, do something with your video, you know what tools you have available and how you can use them, how they work. However, it will not be a workshop in which you will be also editing some footage. However, I will aim to keep you involved throughout the process with some questions, although this might change depending on how are we on time. And one more thing. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask them on the chat, and I will aim to answer to them at the end of each section. Perfect. About me. So I'm Matt. I mean, my name is Mateusz, but everyone calls me Matt in the UK because who can spell Mateusz? I specialize in visual storytelling, and mostly it means photography and video creation. I've been working freelance as a photographer, photographing events which include national level celebrations, concerts, also extreme sports, a lot of this stuff. And also I spent 3 years studying undergraduate degree in Durham. So also know, the situation you might be in and the possibilities, what you can face, what you can experience, what can work for you. I also ran a Rec 35 company, which is focusing on video production. And during our time in Durham, we worked with clients such as aggression sessions, theater companies, events. And also independently of that, I worked with clients like the British Museum, Red Bull Sports, countless other organizations, student groups, societies. So, I might know your playing field quite well. So why is the starting point for this workshop? Why does it matter? Why video editing is important? First of all, we live in a digital age. Everything is online and everything happens on our screens. Social media and internet are based on visual content. Videos prove to be the most engaging type of content. People watch them, people react to them. So, and with very limited real life interaction, especially now when there is coronavirus time, we are at risk of a second lockdown. Using video content is now more important than ever. And especially if you're involved with a student group, student society, and you want to show its activities, promote its activities, or if you're involved as staff at Durham University, and you will be also using video to promote events, promote your actions. And if you can do video editing better, you have a chance to stand out and make yourself, your organization, what you do, more attractive to prospective members, for example. So what's our plan for today? Just a sec. We'll start with a little bit of a familiar situation and two cases. One of them will be more distant from you, from what you do. And one of them, in turn, will be exactly something you can encounter, a promotional video for a society, for a student group. Before the editing, we'll look at what you should keep in mind, how you can approach the topic, so that before you actually sit down in front of your computer and start putting footage into the software. Then we'll look at editing tools, so what you can use to actually push your video together. Then a few things that you can keep in mind while editing and which can make your video better. Finally, we'll look at some next steps. So once you finish the editing, it's not over of your work with the video. One more thing to keep in mind is that there is a rule called Pareto rule. I'm not sure if you ever heard about it, or you can know it as 20-80 rule. So basically 20% knowledge and skill and experience is enough to achieve 80% result, which means that, you know, if you get the basics right, you can already create some amazing content, and you don't need to have ages of experience. You don't need to have you don't need to be fluent with anything. You just need to be working, and then you will quickly step up your game. So start a video that I've made for DUSA, Durham University Philological Association, a student group I was involved with for a long time, and which, when required a promotional video for a virtual freshers firm, turned to me. And here is what I made for them. And since it's a promotional video for a society, for a student group, for an organization, that's, in my opinion at least, the most relevant type of content for you and what you will be doing in Durham. Because yeah, whatever you're involved with, your group will probably need a video at some point. So if you can make it better than others, that's good. Just a sec, I have a bit of a issue with sound on this one. It doesn't really share well over Zoom, so I will need to make a little switch. Yeah, you might need to turn your volume up, but you'll see. Okay, and here is another case study, which is less relevant to you, but will still be helpful to illustrate some of the things I'll be talking about later in this workshop, which is a promotional video for last year's aggression sessions that we've made at Rec 35. While the DUSA video was just my work, here it's collaborative work with a friend who was running the company with me at the time. So have a look, and we'll refer to it later on. Okay, just a second. I need to switch something in my sound settings. Okay, perfect. So now we'll move to the part when you have the footage. You filmed it, hopefully you filmed it well. That's what one of the previous workshops was about. And now we're moving into the editing phase. So the first step that you will have is actually starting with why. Why are you making the video? What is the purpose behind it? What do you want to achieve? Who will watch your video? Those questions are something that you should consider, because this way your edited final video can be way more effective, more impactful, can just be memorable to the viewers. So what do you think? What were the goals? What were the answers to those questions for the DUSA video, the one with the caving club? Feel free to type them or turn on your sound light. There are a few of us, so if you want to speak up, just speak. No need to type. Okay, so basically, the idea here was that the video was meant to be a promotional video for the society, so show it as something cool. So to recruit new members, to make the society attractive. What we wanted to achieve? The idea was to attract freshers, to attract prospective members, to show that caving is fun, fight some misconceptions about it. Who'll watch the video? Well, one group is freshers, but there are a few others, and actually I'll speak more on that later in the third part of this workshop. But you start with why, and this way you will know how to select the tools and the footage to serve your goal. Then you can also, you can also call it for W's if this short mnemonic makes it easier for you to remember. Then the next step can be framing, from your project. In other words, define your terms, define what you'll be working on. So length, how long will it be? If you're making a 3-minute video, it will be different than a video that is 1.5 minutes long. Or if you're making a feature film, well, that will be way, 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 way different thing. And if you want to make a video which is 10 minutes long, it will be also something different. Vibe, how should it feel? How should the viewer feel? Will the video be upbeat and energetic, like the caving video, or will it be something more moody and dramatic, like, for example, a trailer for a play? Pace, quick versus slow. If you're going for a more energetic vibe, you'll probably want your pace to be fast. While if it's something more dramatic, slower, then your pace will be slow. Simple as that. Orientation, horizontal or vertical. Yeah, because depending on where you want your video published, you can make your video like vertical if it's going for story for smartphones. Otherwise, you will probably go for horizontal. But the footage that works when shown horizontally might not necessarily work well if it's cropped and shown in a vertical form. Then, final question: how polished should your video be? There will be a difference if you're making a video which is aimed just for your society, or if it's made for a whole big organization, let's say DST, or if the video is meant for the central university, or if it's some sort of a commercial project. So this will be also something to keep in mind, because your goal, what you want to achieve, affects how much work you will be putting into the project. Also, another part is what are your circumstances? And do you have time to make a video better, or do you just need to have it done? How far till the deadline? Can you make revisions? Do you have time for it? Just keep it in mind. So what was the situation for this video? I think I kind of already explained. So length, 1.5 minutes, because that was what TSU required. Vibe, energetic, upbeat, fun. Pace, fast. Orientation, well, horizontal. Polished, quite polished, but doesn't have to be super polished. Then next step, preview footage. Check what you have filmed. Check what footage do you have. Is it enough for what you want to do? If not, can you shoot more? If not, if you cannot film more or reshoot, can you acquire more footage? You know, can you ask your coworkers, other society members, past society members, to send you some footage? What else can you do? Well, you can use stock videos. You can also animate photos. It will not work in every case, but these are some methods, you know, to bypass lack of footage. Alternatively, you know, if worst comes to worst, you can also change the concept, but that can be a bit of a last resort. So in case of Dusa video, the circumstances were such that there was coronavirus ongoing. There was no way to get more footage. I worked with what I recorded, you know, on various occasions throughout the years, just kinda as a side project without any particular goal, particular video in mind, just like something, I'll get some footage just in case I want to put something together in the future. There was no way to shoot more, and there wasn't really anyone else recording videos, so there wasn't really any way to acquire more footage. In terms of stock video sites, these are basically sources of free footage, or you might need to make a small fee, but that depends on the source you're using. When using video from such a source, you will need to make sure you comply with the license terms. For example, you might need to attribute the author and respect the copyrights, because someone put their work, and without them this video wouldn't be available to you. And you know, don't get your video banned. Some websites that you can use are Pixabay and Vidivo. If you Google their names, you will basically get them. So here are some samples. You know, you can get some sparkling material if you want to put titles on that. You can get footage of a man with a guitar by the bridge. Why not? You can get the eye of some animal. Okay. We'll need to get back a bit. So the advantages of stock websites are that they are free, mostly. They offer diverse range of footage. You know, you're probably not going to have animal that close to you if you're locked down at home, or you will not be playing guitar by the bridge with your friends to record them in such lighting. So this gives you a lot of flexibility, and the quality you can get is often very good, even, you know, 4K, why not? Disadvantages, people can quite often tell that it's stock footage, and it won't show you, your society, your organization. So it can fit, but for example, for the DUSA video I was making, it didn't. I wanted to show our caving club and not to use National Geographic type of footage shot by other people. So now, another alternative, if you don't have the footage, but you have the photos. You can animate photos using something that's called Ken Burns effect. You might have encountered some documentaries. What it means is that you're basically adding some motion to a photo. it makes it more attractive than if you were just using stationary images. It works well with additional animated text or voiceover. The photo should be in a high resolution. So here's an example of what it is. You have a camera that is zoomed in on the image and it just slides alongside it. Uh, it will work for some videos, but at the same time, for a video like this video, it just isn't dynamic enough. It would just break the pace. However, if you are, for example, creating a summary video at the end of the year and you want to use include some numbers, that's a perfect addition. The pace is slower, the numbers will be what the viewer will focus on. Now, just a sec. Music. Before you start editing, it could be best to select music. Why? Because the music sets the pace, and as a result, it will affect the way you cut the footage, the way you put it together. Because basically, what you do is you select a song first, and then you assemble the video. You put the video together so that it matches the rhythm of the song. If you try to do it the other way around, it's just not going to work. And the music will also help to create the vibe. Dusa video, the music was energetic but also kind of lightweight, and it helps just convey the message of the video, create the vibe, convey the story. Oh yeah, and respect the copyrights. Also, if you just take any music available on the internet, you might have repercussions. One of my friends, he actually in one of the projects, the client asked us to use a particular song which they didn't have copyrights for, and then a friend uploaded it to, I think it was Vimeo, and then he had his whole account with his other videos. Basically, it was his display of his work. He had it all banned and deleted by Vimeo because the music was copyrighted. So don't do that, and don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your society. Don't get your video banned. Basically, use sound and music banks and stock sites. Yeah, as there are stocks with photos, there are stocks with videos, and there are also banks of sounds and music available for you to use. Sometimes you might need to attribute the author. That was the case for the Dusa video. Yeah. Well, I think I already explained everything about Dusa. Is everything clear about those stages right now? Do you have any questions? Yeah, everything is good. Perfect. And if you have any questions later, just let me know. Okay, so now we'll move to the editing tools. First of all, process. So we'll start with tools because that's where your edit happens. Without the tools, you won't be doing editing. You will just have some pieces of footage that's recorded. And the process itself, it consists of assembly, editing, corrections, audio, adding graphics, texts, etc. You will just see as we go throughout these workshops. Also, one thing to keep in mind is that at any point in this process, you might decide that you want to make adjustments and revisions and step back to one of the previous stages. It's nothing rigid. This process is meant to serve you and your goals, what you're working on. So it's nothing that you would need to follow by the book or anything like this. It's for you. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. So tools. Here we are going to look at entry-level video editing software, which you can still use to make some amazing results. There will be actually a case for that towards the end of this workshop. Of course, there are many other paid and unpaid alternatives available. However, and of course, they will make it possible for you to make even better results. However, you can still make a great video with those tools. You just need to make sure you use them right and that you know how to use them. It's simple as that. The entry-level software that you will have pre-installed or available for free, typically, is Windows Video Editor. It's on Windows 10 because in 2012, Microsoft abandoned Windows Movie Maker. This is the icon. There's Windows Movie Maker on older versions of Windows, and there's iMovie available on Apple devices, and there is Premiere Rush, which is available on all platforms. It's just on computers. It has a trial version with a limited number of exports you can make. And in terms of usefulness and the possibilities these give you, the currently available video editor is the most limiting piece of software. Unless you don't have any other choice, it might be best to avoid it, unfortunately. Windows Movie Maker was actually better, although it's no longer available. iMovie and Premiere Rush are on par, and there are minor differences between them, but they have very similar workflow and very similar possibilities. In this workshop, in the rest of this workshop, I'll be focusing mostly on Premiere Rush because you can download and use it for free on all of the platforms. So it will be available both for Windows users and for Apple users and for mobile users. So you can also continue your work, start your work on an iPad and continue it on your desktop computer, PC. So getting started, once you launch your program, you will have a workspace. In each of the programs, it will look slightly different. Yeah, you might, just a disclaimer, you might have noted that Windows Movie Maker is in Polish. Unfortunately, that was the language set on the old computer I managed to find with this programming style, because all the other are just newer. So what you'll have is space for media files. Here, this is basically where your imported videos, music, photos will land. Then you'll have timelines, as you can see here. And when you drop files, when you drop media files on the timelines, you will see that there is a video timeline. It's illustrated here on the Movie Maker, and there's also audio timeline, and you can have a number of those. Then also there is a player, which is a preview window, where you can preview how your footage looks like. One more thing is that in the preview window, to save resources of your computer, the quality of the footage of the video that you will see will be lower than if you were just checking out the video in your in any other media player. But this is because video editing takes a lot of resources from your computer, can slow it down. So to save those resources, to make sure your computer can actually do the edits, the resolution of the preview is lowered. But then once you finish the editing and export the video, the quality should be fine. The quality will be normal. Any questions? Okay, so one more thing is that, as I said earlier, the Windows tools are very limited in terms of the edits that you can make. However, in Premiere Rush, which is here, here you can see a bar with editing tools that you can use. While in iMovie, the editing tools, this is the desktop version, by the way, it will look slightly different on a mobile version. The tools that you have available are located here. We'll have a closer look at them later. So now, importing, you shot your footage, you used the knowledge from the previous workshop, you selected some music, you gathered any other graphics, any other, I don't know, files you might need, photos. Now it's time to get them into the program. So here is a quick demonstration. So, you just open a folder, select them, press import. Here we are. In Premiere Rush, they will by default appear on the timeline. You can delete them, and you can also open the imported footage area, imported media folder with this button. This. On Windows software, in turn, the importing will take place through normal Windows Explorer. And one thing to watch out is that when you are working on the video, do not move the video files that you are using around your computer. And never ever delete them while you're in the process of editing. The files don't get saved in the file of the project file is actually linked to them. So if you move the files, the project will have a name of the file but won't be able to locate it, and as a result you will need to upload the files again, or let's say reconnect them. Just don't move the files around and you'll be fine. So now, once you have a tool, it's time to move to the assembly bit, which is basically placing video clips on the timeline. Normally it works with drag and drop interface. So, you just press, you pull it, you drop it. Demonstration to follow, and you will be putting the clips in the correct order, the rough order that you want them to appear. So here a quick demonstration. Now you just press, you drag, you drop it. 1, 2, voila. Now, once you did it, and a few other times, you can move the clips around. Note that in iMovie and Premiere Rush, by default, the clips are magnetic, which means that if you move one clip around, the other will take its place, so that the clips are packed nicely, closely together, which means there will be no gaps. Then another thing that you can do once you put the clips in the timeline, you can move them between different timelines. You just drag them, you just drop them, and as a result, when you have clips on different timelines, what will be shown is the clip on the highest timeline. This can work if you, for example, want to see how a piece of footage will work when it takes place of another piece of footage, and because you're not sure how you want your video to look, which piece of footage will look better. Now we'll be moving to the editing itself. Basically, in the editing itself, you will have, it's sort of a twin phase. It's basically the boundary between editing and assembly is very thin on the projects like promotional videos or the student type of things that you might encounter. But splitting clips, splitting clips means dividing clip into parts. Quick demonstration. In Premiere Rush, you put your pointer into the place where you want to cut the clip. You press the scissors icon located here, and then you just pull the clip elsewhere. On iMovie, you will be right-clicking and then choosing to clip, as far as I know. And each software might have its own specifics, but that's how it will work in general. Then there's trimming. And then there will be also adjusting order, but you will be adjusting order kind of constantly until you know that this is it. So trimming is moving start and end points of the clip forwards and backwards. It's non-destructive, which means that if you shorten the clip, you can also restore it by pulling it back. Quick demonstration. Oh, just a sec. Sorry. So here you see that you can, let's say, squeeze the clip, and then it will get shorter. But if you decide you need more of it, you can just expand it. Works. And you can do the same thing with audio. Now, corrections. So corrections are about introducing changes to the footage. And it's a tool that's available to you. However, you can make a perfectly fine and good-looking video without using them. But at the same time, if you know that they are here and that you can use them, it will mean that if you feel like the footage isn't it, it's missing something, you can use a correction to make it look the way you desire, the way that will look with the way that will work with your video, that will work with your story. Again, here I'll be mostly following on the Premiere. I will be mostly using the Premiere Rush layout. So that's where the corrections are located. In Premiere Rush, they're located on the right as under this sort of like a filter icon. Here's the menu. And on iMovie, it's located here under those two icons above the preview window. Here's a closer look on how the two menus look like. In Premiere Rush, you will have all the corrections available in one place. On in iMovie, they will be separate. Here you will have mostly adjusting the color and white balance, which works automatically and is very convenient. While in here you will have brightness adjustments, more about those later, and some color adjustments, also more about those later. One thing to keep in mind is that watch out for extreme changes, because if you flip a switch all the way in, it can actually make your footage look worse. And one extra piece of advice, watch out for night mode. If you're editing on your phone or on your laptop, whatever device you have, late at night, you might have a night mode, which will change the color display of your screen to a more yellowish, so reduce the amount of blue light, so it's easier for you to fall asleep later on. However, if you forget about it, you might start correcting the colors, which will feel unnatural to you, and then you will put in a lot of work, but in vain, because once you turn your screen to normal, the footage will just look weird, and you will need to restore it back. So first of all, presets. The easiest way to make corrections, they're basically filters you might know from Instagram and other phone apps. They're a quick way to apply a predefined set of settings, and easiest way to give your footage uniform look and feel. There is, however, a risk that they can prove incompatible with individual corrections, and they might not always work if footage is too varied. So, you might apply a preset on two pieces of footage, but because one is bright and one is dark, they will look different. And this means you might want to do some manual tweaking to make them more uniform. And here's just how they look like. On the left, you have Premiere Rush. On the right, you have iMovie. It has some more crazier presets like X-ray and negative. Then, exposure. Exposure is basically adjustment of how bright or dark your image is, or your footage in this case. That's how the slider looks like in Premiere Rush. And in iMovie, you'll be using the middle dot on this part of settings, because iMovie is utilizing a multi-slider, they call it. And here's the effect it has. Here you have normal starting point footage. Here you have lowered exposure, decreased exposure, it's darker, more sort of grayish, but first of all, darker. And then if you increase the exposure, it just gets brighter, so it's easy to overblow the sky, the highlights. Why would you like to change it? Well, if footage is too dark or too bright. Then another setting that you can use is contrast. Basically, it's a balance between the footage being sort of like gray, foggy, and, well, contrasty. I won't be going into detail on what is like the proper, let's say, scientific definition of contrast, because it doesn't really matter for practical use. What matters is that if you boost contrast, your video will just look more crispy. Again, on Premiere Rush, it will be just a slider, in a row I've shown you in the beginning of this section. While in iMovie, it will be one of those two dots. Basically, when you pull one, the other will mirror its behavior, so it doesn't matter which one you use, but those are used to change the contrast. And then what effect it will have on your footage. So as you can see, here we have the starting frame. If you decrease the contrast, that's contrast decreased all the way in Premiere Rush, the footage will become sort of like a foggy lag definition. However, if you boost contrast, the footage will be crispier, the edges will be more defined. One thing, however, to keep in mind is that some devices like phones and tablets might be boosting contrast naturally, and then if you boost the contrast too much on your, for example, PC screen monitor, the result might look good for you, but for people watching the video on their phones, might look weird or even bad. Why would you like to change the contrast? Well, if your footage is too gray, too foggy, and to make it look more crispy. Then the next setting you have available is temperature. Basically, temperature is about shifting colors to colder or warmer. It's a balance between blue and orange, shift between blue and orange. And quite easily, it can give you a morning sunset feel. Here's what the sliders look like. Here's the iMovie. And here's the example of application. So here is the footage shot. It was like, early afternoon. But by boosting blue, you can make it sort of in the direction of like morning, or just give it a colder vibe. And then you can make it more warmer, hotter, more, I mean, here it is, well, overdone, but you can make it feel more like a sunset, or like a noon, or like summer warm. If you remember the aggression sessions video, the whole video had actually some of the blue tone. So yeah, this is sort of how you can get a similar effect. Why would you like to change it? Getting natural colors, because you can have some lighting that will be cold or warm, for example, tungsten lighting, and then you will be readjusting it so that the colors look natural, especially skin tones. And you can also use it to create a mood. For example, have a feeling that the footage was filmed in the morning. Then saturation. How saturated are the colors? And the difference is washed out versus vivid. Here is the Premiere Rush slider, and here is the iMovie switch. And here's the effect it has on the frame, on your footage. Here is the default. Here is saturation at 0. As you can see, it turns your video, your frame, black and white. And here it's pushed all the way to the right. And similarly to contrast, saturation is easy to overdo, and actually it is, I believe, the easiest of the settings to overdo, because you can be like, oh yeah, I will make the colors look better, and then you leave them. But once you're back and looking at the footage, you can notice that the colors look kind of unnatural, almost like, I know, the greens become kind of radioactive-ish. And especially if you then play the footage on phones, which boost the saturation too, the results might be unnatural and the skin tones might look bad. There's also a very similar setting called Vibrance, especially in Premiere Rush, but the effect is so similar that here I'm just covering saturation. And when would you like to change it? Well, to get natural colors, because, for example, you might have a foggy day, or your photo might be just lacking in colors for some other reason. Your footage, sorry about that. And you can also use it to create mood and as a creative effect if you are going, actually, if this too colorful Candyland colors are your creative choice. And then some other settings that you can use. Crop. It's basically removing edges of your footage. It's kind of like you are, as if you were cropping a photo. Zoom, zooming in, zooming out. Pretty self-explanatory. Stabilization, it reduces shake. And the way it works is that it also reduces shake, but you lose some of the footage on the edges. And it works best for reducing light shake, for example, some handshake, when you're, for example, filming with your phone and your hands aren't the most stable. But the higher the shake, the bigger the shake, the more of the shake, the more difficult it will be to remove. Then speed. You can use it to speed up the footage or to slow it down. However, as you probably had it covered on the previous workshop, if you want to film to make a slow motion effect, you will need to record your footage in higher frame rate than 24 frames per second. So for example, that's for what you would use 60 frames per second, 60 FPS. That will allow you to make a slow motion, but I won't be getting into detail. I hope it was covered in the previous workshop you had in the series. And here's just a quick close-up on the settings. Also, stabilization, as far as I know, is currently unavailable in Premiere Rush. But it's available in iMovie, and this can be very useful for your work. Here is crop. Also, it features Ken Burns effect, which is used for animating the photos. I'll show you how to do that in other program in Premiere Rush in a sec. And here is the speed control. While in Premiere Rush, here is the cropping control, and here is the speed control. So what was the situation with those four deducer video? Actually, I didn't use any corrections. The footage just didn't really need them. They wouldn't help. Of course, they could help to have a more polished results. However, given a narrow time frame, it was better to focus on other pieces, on other parts of assembling the video. For example, making sure the cuts match the music, than to make sure all the footage has uniform colors and very uniform feeling, especially that most of it appears there for a very short time, which means that you probably won't notice the difference. What I used though, it was some cropping, zooming in. Questions? Any questions? Okay. Oh, wait a sec. I'm getting a question here. Hamish, which software is best to use if you need to split the screen between two or more clips of footage playing at the same time? Good question. I don't remember doing this sort of thing, so I can't give you an answer, which will be best. I think Premiere Rush has this option. iMovie, I'm not sure because I just had a look at its settings so that I can give you an overview of them in this workshop, but I'm not normally a user of Apple system. And if you need, you will be able to also use some additional software for this purpose, like you could check out HitFilm Express, or it should be possible in something like DaVinci Resolve, or but I would start with Premiere Rush. I think there was a setting like this. Wait a sec. Okay, so now after corrections, we'll be moving to audio. So audio will be your music, sounds, recorded audio. It will have separate timelines from video and mostly similar behavior to video clips. But if you put one piece of audio on top of the other, what's below will basically disappear, but you can of course trim it out, stretch it later on. But this is because video shouldn't be flowing that freely as footage, and also if you have video on different timelines, it will overlap. Sorry, if you have sound, if you have audio on different timelines, it will overlap. Then here is a quick demonstration, of how the audio timeline looks like. It's basically below your video timeline, at end is typically green. There are also smaller audio timelines that you can see here. It is the audio sound recorded that's attached to the footage itself. Basic corrections. Well, with audio in both Premiere Rush and iMovie, you can make some basic corrections that will be helpful if you're recording something that includes voice, an interview perhaps, and you're not interested in playing around in more sophisticated audio editing tools. You can adjust volume, you can clean up dialogue, and they're applied separately for every piece of audio. So here is a quick look how it looks like in iMovie. And for some reason, the screenshot from the Premiere Rush isn't loading. However, you can see on the right that it's the second from the bottom set of settings. And here you'll have all the different controls for your sounds. Now, graphics and text. If you want to add some text and labels, well, you have a tool for this in both iMovie and Premiere Rush. You have a variety of styles, of templates available, and they're again using a drag and drop interface, which then allow you for adjustments. On the left, you have some of the default text templates available in Premiere Rush. on the right here, you have a set of settings that you can use to correct or rather to adjust the template to your needs, like changing the font style, size, colors, opacity, shadows. While in iMovie, the titles, the text, are available here on the left. And then you also just drag and drop them onto your footage, and then you introduce adjustments. Quick demonstration. Oh, well, wait just a sec. Here we go. So let's say we want to add a label. We just pull it, put it on, above the footage. Then we drag it around until it's in the desired spot. We can press on it. We can write a thing. For example, caver. It's a caver. And then it's, as you can see, it's also on the timeline above your main timeline. So it just shows on top of the footage, but as the area around it is transparent, it won't be interfering. Transitions. Well, transitions can be used to make your cut smoother. If you ever used Windows Movie Maker, you can see that the transitions available are rather funky, interesting. You know, you can do a lot of shapes that you probably won't be really using in real world, but you have such a possibility. While in Premiere Rush, the options are a bit more conservative. It will be mostly cross dissolve, dip to black, and dip to white. I will show you how these work in a sec. And in iMovie, you again have a wide variety of transition templates available. Now, quick example of transitions. So you would typically take the transitions from the transitions menu. You would press a transition, and then you would drag and drop it on in between two clips, and then it will have its duration. So how long does it play? As you can see here, one clip changes into the other fluently, while let's see it again. Yeah. While here, it will turn, the screen will turn into black, and then out of black, a new, your new piece of footage will basically emerge. Finally, if you want to animate your photos, here's how you can do it in Premiere Rush. So here's what a, wait a sec, it played from the end. Okay, so if you put a photo on your timeline, it will just be a static photo. However, once you select in the settings that you want to use pan and zoom, you just switch it on, and you will have a default path applied. Then you can, there are a few ways to customize it, but on the default setting, it also works quite well. Something to keep in mind when editing, you're making the video for your viewer. Keep them in mind. It might be, just one note when we're on the stage, it might be a bit of an overlap with one of the starting sections before you edit. However, here I want to get a bit more in depth on this idea, because it is what can actually you know, make your video more impactful, successful, help you, help your society, help your organization. Keep your video clear, avoid distractions. Try to have a reason for what you do. Don't put just too many things in. Help the viewer enjoy the video. Help the viewer focus, structure. As we're short on time, and at the end there is some stuff that I really want to show you, I'll be going through this bit a bit quickly. Apologies for this. Structure. Yeah, if you use in your video a structure where you have introduction, if you have sort of like main body, where's main action, and some sort of ending, you can also make it more meaningful, impactful. It will help you tell the story. In, for example, aggression sessions video, you had as an introduction a sequence when people are waking up, when you know that something is happening, but you don't know why are they waking up, where are they going. You have a sequence where they running to the training, where they are training, and then as the ending is this sort of shot where they are just all together walking down the hill. Keep it interesting. Utilize a story. If your video can have some sort of like a message, something that stays with the audience, something is happening, there is some chain of events that are linked, it will make it even better and more impactful. Of course, it might not always be possible, but if it's possible, that would be great. When considering your viewer, think who they are and why would they watch your video? What are they hoping for? What they want to see? And how can you positively surprise them? And what they don't want to see? And what do you want them to do after watching the video? Also, it didn't fit on this slide, but what do you want them to feel after watching your video? What should be the impact? Should they be happy? Should they be worried? Should they be sad? That's up to you and your, depends on your goals. In case for the DUSA video, the likely viewer would be someone who's a friend of, except for Fresher, likely viewer would be someone who's a friend of a society member. Someone comes and asks, oh, so what did you do over the weekend? What is it caving that you do? Well, here you have a video that you can show them and be like, this is what I do. Why would they watch your video? Well, because they're interested in the club, in the caving as an activity, or what their friends are doing. What are they hoping for? They are hoping to have their questions answered, to understand what it is, to see what it is, to also get a chance to feel what it's like. What do they want to see? They want to see how it looks like, how it feels like. And how can you positively surprise them? Think whether there are any misconceptions with your activity, with what you're doing, with what you're, in this case, promoting throughout this video, and try to address them. For example, in caving, people often think it's just about staying underground in some, muddy wet hole in underground, which can be a case. You've seen caves on the video. However, there's a lot of footage filmed on the surface outside of caves, because this is also where a lot of the club activity happens. What your viewer doesn't want to see, well, this part is will depend on who you are making the video for. However, for example, in case of the video like the DUSA video, they probably wouldn't want to see many numbers like when was the club made, how many caves there are in the UK, what is the total volume of cave systems in the UK, and this sort of things, because of course someone can be passionate about this stuff, but it might not be for everyone. And if they're interested, they'll message you and ask. And what do you want them to do after watching the video? For example, in this case, it was to spark their interest in joining the club, to give it a go, to have a try, to sign up. And actually, people who aren't outdoorsy, who aren't fans of extreme sports, and also people who are outdoorsy, after watching this video, were like, looking at it and were like, oh, wow, yeah, I want to try caving. Or, poking their friend and be like, hey, we should go for a give it a go session because it looks kind of cool, kind of fun, doesn't look so scary as I thought. So if you can combat some misconception about, if you can combat some misconception about your society, what you're doing, your organization, then it will be even better. For example, show that it's interesting when people think that it's boring. Most important rule, if there's one thing to keep in mind this. JHFYI, yeah, it's not very good acronym, but in other words, just have fun with it. Start easy. No need to apply everything right away. What you're working on, does it need to be perfect? If it works, that's what's most important. If you enjoy the process, you're more likely to keep trying and experimenting. Basically, like if you're enjoying what you're doing, you will keep on doing it, you will get better. And if you jump onto a water that's too deep for you and try to make a Hollywood movie on your first editing try, you'll just get disappointed and you'll probably end up not even finishing the project. Now, next steps. When video is complete, it has to be exported. Exporting is outputting a single complete file which has all the changes. It's basically a piece of the video. You can play it, you can send it around, but you cannot introduce adjustments. It's ready to upload and share with the world. While saving, it will save the project, file, and your edit progress can be changed further. So, for example, Premiere Rush file will be you will be saving a Premiere Rush file. However, out of a Premiere Rush file, you will be exporting a video that you can later, I don't know, clip. You can also introduce changes to it, but you will just not be able to change the pieces, kind of like having a house that's ready, that's finished. Here in Premiere Rush, if you want to export your video, previously you were in the edit area, you press the share button, and then you can have some changes. You can change the name of the file. You can change the location where it will be exported. Here it's called saved, but it's about exporting, outputting the new file. You will see how much disk space will take. Video files take a lot of disk space. You will see if there is any presets to be applied. You probably don't want to change that because typically the program will by default show you what's best. However, of course, as with everything here, anything here, just play around and see what changes when you change the settings. Then you can change resolution. You will adjust it typically to the video of the lowest resolution that you used, and frame rate, audio channels, and quality you will typically want to have on high because otherwise the video just isn't going to look that good as it can, as good as it can. Oh yeah, and here you can also preview your what you'll be outputting, sort of how the end result looks like. So you can see that all the labels are in place and you don't need to flip anything around. And then sharing. To avoid quality loss when sending the video around, okay, first of all, what's the quality loss? Quality loss is when your video ends up looking bad and it typically becomes pixelated. It can happen. Many people, if it happens, don't know why. Well, it can happen, for example, if the video gets sent the wrong way and it gets compressed, the video file gets sort of squeezed and it can't unsqueeze later on. When sending files to others, for example, you are editing the video, but someone else is going to post it on your society channels, you will want to use a virtual drive, such as OneDrive or Google Drive. Alternatively, you can also use WeTransfer, which will just deliver them a link to the video to their email, which is super convenient. Don't send the videos using Facebook Messenger because this will absolutely wreck the quality. Also, if you're acquiring footage from people, ask them to use either a virtual drive or WeTransfer, because if they send you footage from Messenger, the quality will fall down. Your video won't be looking as good, as attractive as it can, as you probably would want it to look. And when uploading the video, make sure you select the highest quality. You could say that probably goes without saying. However, it's easy to forget, especially if someone is just starting out, getting experience in this topic, and preferably you should want to use the computer where possible. Because on phones you can get some extra compression from using cell data, mobile apps. You have basically less control. Of course, it's not the case on Instagram where you can upload only from a phone. But when, for example, you're uploading on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll be safer uploading from your computer. Now, in practice, meet Mark. Mark is a uni student. I mean, actually, okay, he was. Mark has a startup idea, wants to compete in a blueprint challenge organized by Careers and Enterprise Center, where people with startup ideas can win money to fuel their idea and support its growth. A part of this competition is a video competition stage. So he has to create a video that will present his idea and show it, convince the jury that it's good, that he deserves the award. Mark has no experience. He never touched editing software. He never edited a video. He actually doesn't know anything about editing videos. Okay, just a sec. I'll check out the question. Okay, isn't anything new. He never touched the software. He doesn't have any video editing experience. Like some of you can be like Mark right now. So he had some help with filming. He used two cameras on two tripods in different parts of his room. Um, he had some help with like lighting, positioning it, but you probably know this already after your filming workshop. And instead of the cameras, you could use phones because like the currently available phones, they just have great cameras, especially if the lighting is good. So now Mark had the footage and he uploaded it to his iPad. And let's see what he came up 3 hours later. It's literally, he was, wait a sec. He was learning while editing, and it was his the first time he was actually using anything like this. Here's this video. Wait a sec. Wait a sec. I'll also make it so that you can hopefully hear it. It's unfortunate that there's this technical problem.
Hi, I'm Mark Long, and I am the founder of Unfair Drinks. At Unfair Drinks, we aim to create a world where alcohol is no longer the price to pay for relaxation. A world where you can have fun on nights out and still go out for work in the morning. A world where alcohol no longer wreaks havoc on millions of families around the world. 2.8 million people die from alcohol abuse every year. That's 7,500 per day, 320 per hour, 5.3 per minute. It means that since I started talking, more than 2 people have died from alcohol-related causes. That is, if we continue to do nothing about it. Introducing the world's first denated zero-proof spirit, Unfair Gin. Keeping the sociable effects of alcohol, a naturally relaxing spirit cares about your health. It's non-addictive and hangover-free. It replaces alcohol as it can be drunk, neat, or as a cocktail. We pledge to dedicate a quarter of all our profits to support those suffering from alcoholism. If we can, so can you. Life is unfair, but together we can make a difference. A drink at a time. Cheers.
So, what do you think? Right now, it's sort of a moment for discussion. We still have a few minutes, then there will be time, main time for any questions you might have. And feel free to turn on your cameras, turn on your microphones, and if you don't want to do that, feel free to write in the chat. Basically, what do you think about this video? How do you like it? How did it make you feel? Why? Okay, so I'll at least say what I think. So it was made by somebody with no experience who had the footage filmed, then downloaded Premiere Rush, and then learned how to use it while editing the whole thing. And if that's the case, then it's great. Also, it served Mark well. He actually won, I believe it was second place in the competition, or a third one. But basically, video achieved its purpose, and you could have seen that he used stock footage, he used text, labels, he used some crop, he cut between two camera angles, and he literally did it in one afternoon, around 3 hours. So, if you're looking for a reference point of what is it that you yourself can do, you can film in a student room, because it wasn't any sort of a studio or professional setting. It was just a student room, a black cloth, and a lamp. and 2 cameras, then you can definitely do something like this if you just have a try. Now, wait a sec. Takeaways. If there is something to remember from this workshop, keep it simple. Better to have a complete video than unfinished masterpiece. Get your video done, then you can also improve it. But at first, your goal is to have the video ready, and it has to work. And then you can also make it better. Start easy, because if you try to do everything at once, it might be easy for you to get overwhelmed. So just, do it step by step. Be like Mark, just do it and learn as you go. And remember, just have fun with it. And thank you. This is the moment if you have any questions. And also, for the people who are watching right now, in the future, the recording of this workshop, because it's being recorded, will be uploaded. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, here is a link to my website. You will find my email there, or you can also just contact me on Instagram and ask me any questions, give me any ideas, or for example, let me know of any feedback that you have, let me know of any things that you would like to learn, because I'm looking forward to your feedback so I can improve those workshops when I do them in the future for audiences and know what people find most useful, what is best for them. Thank you, Dharam.
Well, it was great. I really enjoyed. I actually learned an awful lot, and I thought the software in particular was actually really, really interesting. I hadn't heard of that one until you mentioned it. What do you find hardest in terms of editing? What do you think is like sometimes the most time-consuming part of it?
So, for example, if I will refer to the case that's been, overarching theme for this workshop. Do a video. Okay. Except for the part where I was filming, when hanging on a rope in a waterfall underground, the challenging bit was to actually choose the right song. It was literally, I think, 2 evenings browsing sound banks to find a song that just had the right vibe and was free. I also didn't want to use anything that was already a popular song because this would kind of just take away from the video. People would focus on, I don't know, listening to something that they know, a cool and popular song, rather than enjoying the video itself. And there were times I thought I have the song, but then, for example, halfway through, it ended up, it changed how it sounds, and then I had to look for another song. There was a question from Jennifer. What would you say the main key features are in paid software such as Adobe Premiere Pro versus its free counterpart? Oh, wow. This is a big topic. So Adobe Premiere Pro is simply offers way more features than Premiere Rush. It's just I don't know. It's hard for me to even to come up with a comparison, but you can do much more. However, and it features, for example, advanced edits. You can add more advanced effects, do more advanced color corrections, color changes. You can have more timelines, more complex transitions. It's basically better for bigger projects that can use its potential. On the flip side, it's also more difficult to learn and can be very confusing, especially when you start out. While for many of the projects, a program like a movie or Premiere Rush will be sufficient and actually will improve the project because and your work help you make a better video, because instead of fighting against the program, the software, trying to understand how to use it, you'll be able to edit and do what's most important to you, so get your video done. And if you're looking for a solution which would be somewhere in between, something more complex than, for example, Premiere Rush, but still not paid, you can check out software like HitFilm Express, which, for example, can be used for some cool VFX, visual special effects, and is, in terms of layout and settings, is closer to Adobe Premiere Pro than Premiere Rush. You can also check out DaVinci Resolve, which is also great for color corrections. Cam, what about you? Any questions? Or perhaps you, Kate, have a question.
No, I don't think I've got any more. I thought it was very thorough, actually, really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much.
Perfect. There's all mine.
Great. Well, if everyone's happy, I think I'll pause recording.